Welcome to this online interview by Project Cargo Weekly. Our very special guest of honor today is Mr. Kerredine Yelnik. He's the regional director at Mareneco, based in Miami in the US. First and foremost, Kerredine, long time no see, and welcome to this interview.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been a minute, Bo, since our Chinese days.
Yeah, the happy days, as we call them. Kerredine, first and foremost, for our listeners, viewers, and readers here, can you explain a little bit about your shipping background? I mean, we met each other many years, decades ago in China, but how did you get into shipping, and what did you do before leading up to your current place in Miami?
Sure. So I started shipping now many decades ago in Marseille. It was just a coincidence. I was in Marseille because coming back from an experience in South America during the end of my college days, I didn't want to be in Paris. I had a kid and etc. So I chose Marseille, and looking in companies that in Marseille had a little bit of international background. I spoke several languages, so for me it was a natural attraction. I found CMS EGM, which was not yet what it is today. It was already big in Marseille, obviously, but not to the extent that it is today. Applied, they hired me. It was a good fit, and I then proceeded to stay about 16 years with the company, taking postings in China, as we know, and in Japan, and then in the US in Miami. So my background in shipping is essentially in container shipping with CMS EGM, for which I had the chance and the opportunity to really have different kind of experience, including project cargo in China. I opened the project cargo sale in our Shanghai office back in the day, so that's how we met. It was really glorious. I loved every minute of that experience, and seeing what the company has become as well is it's pretty fun to watch. I still have a lot of friends and connections in the company, so it's my origin story. And then 2016, I came out of CMA, wanting to see a little bit more about the world. They wanted me to move as well, and I could not really move at that time for family reasons. And so I decided to come out and enter the world of aviation. It was another mode of transportation. It's always been about movement and transportation. I became a commercial pilot, a flight instructor, and operations directors for charters company and flight school. And this was super fun. And seeing the world of commercial cargo, passengers aviations, it's really fascinating as well. Still transport, still a lot to do. And the whole aviation industry is very, very inspired of the maritime industry. In fact, they took everything that we do in the maritime and just applied it to the aviation world. And after a few years of that, last year, at the beginning of the year, I decided to switch back again. This was just a coincidence, a chance meeting from a friend who introduced me to the founder and owner of Mareneco. I really liked the guy. Had a very good feeling with him. I liked his project. I liked his idea. It was another side of the maritime industry that I had never seen before, and I had grown a little bit tired of the box culture in the container industry. I was like that. This is why project cargo in China was so fun for me, because it was a different angle. And then I started for Mareneco in May last year, and here we are.
Okay, that's I recall your exceptional language skills and you're being very proactive. You've lived in many countries. You become a global citizen, and you can take on a lot of roles. So I'm very impressed with your career, what you mentioned until now. Leading up to now, Mareneco, I mean, a lot of people in our business, they are busy just making a living and booking containers and cargo to get whatever profit they can from it. But we also are facing more and more stringent regulations on the environment. And I guess, can you explain in simple terms, what is decarbonization? What kind of product, what kind of new rules must also the maritime industry follow? This is one of the products that you are producing or selling in Mareneco, yeah?
I would say decarbonization, we at Mareneco are not in there yet. It's fairly recent, even for the industry, and the technologies to to go at it are still fairly recent. But what came first was desulfurization and denitrogen, if I say so, if I can say so myself. So it's really an effort to reduce the sulfur oxides emissions and nitrogen oxide emissions. These were the first. These two compounds, sulfur and nitrogens, are responsible for a lot of the air contamination throughout the world. And the maritime industry is responsible for a good chunk of it. Not the majority, but a good chunk of it.
Can you explain where does sulfur come from? I mean, the emissions, they come when you burn the fuel oil? Or?
Correct. So whenever there is fossil fuel combustion, you have chemical reaction that produce molecules of sulfurs and nitrogen.
Okay.
In high density in the atmosphere, these two molecules obviously contaminate the air and are responsible for a lot of respiratory diseases and health issues. There are, of course, all sorts of studies that are evaluating and quantifying those impacts, but just worldwide in 2018, there was a study showing that there were probably 14 million cases of child asthma and 400,000 premature deaths caused by air contamination due to mostly sulfur and nitrogen. So it's a lot. In the US only, there's a lot of attention brought to this, and that's why the US is at the forefront of those regulations as well. And a lot of premature death caused by respiratory disease. Okay. So in the wake of all this environmental concerns and that came in the 80s and 90s, you remember the ozone caps, people started paying much more attention, and doctors and the health industry and other industries started to pay attention. It was realized that nitrogen and sulfur were two of the main culprits. And suddenly the International Maritime Organization, the IMO, started to wake up and came up with a regulation, the now famous IMO 2020 that was decided in 2008 and reconfirmed in 2016, that mandated that as from January 1st of 2020, the global upper limit on the sulfur content of ships' fuel oil should be reduced to 0.5% from 3.5%. So already a massive shift, and that is global. Obviously, in some areas, the cap was even brought lower, and those areas called emission controlled areas, including North Europe and Baltic and North America, brought it to 0.1. Again, that's for sulfur oxides, so called SOx, SOx. And so now suddenly the whole shipping industry had to react. 2018 and 2016 say like, okay, by 2020, we need to abide with these regulations. And we're going to have to rethink the engineering of our ships, the new orders that we have, the build to bring back those emissions. This was done as well in the MARPOL Annex 6, another IMO decision for the NOx, the nitrogen oxides, that also reduced and capped the NOx to a very stringent minimums. And now you had both NOx and SOx being in the radar and mandated to be controlled strictly by shipping lines. Okay. So vessel shipyards and technology makers started to think, how can we address those challenges? For sulfur oxides, one of the solutions that was at that time brought forward was the introduction of scrubbers, right? In ships, in new builds, and also can be retrofitted and placed. And so the scrubbers allow a filtering system for the chimneys and emissions of gas that retain the particles of sulfur within the system, and either keep them into sludges and waste, or release them into water. You have two types of scrubbers, open loop and closed loop. Open loop use seawater to do that filtering, and closed loop use chemicals such as caustic soda to do this filtering.
Right. So where do you? I mean, all of this. Let's say the green wave. I guess we can call it part of the green wave. And who doesn't want to live in a clean on a clean globe? We all do. How does Mareneco, your company, come in as a provider to the maritime industry? What is it that you sell in order for us to become greener in shipping? What is the product you make or sell?
So there are several products. Rather than the product we make, it's more of a supply chain solutions that we provide to global actors in the shipping industry. So most of those solutions that were found, I just mentioned the scrubbers, but for the nitrogen oxide, the NOx, this will come via way of SCR, selective catalytic reduction, which use exhaust diesel fluid to clean and filter the emissions. But there's an entire world of technologies that use chemicals, outside chemicals, to retain and to reduce those emissions. Mareneco came in the wake of the 2016. It was founded in 2016, but came in the wake of all those regulatory changes. Our founder used to work for World Fuel, so he was already in the world of fuel and lube oils, and he had a chemical background. He's a chemist by trade, if I may say so. Also very, very, very passionate by the maritime industry. So those two enter, like now you have the passion for the maritime industry, knowledge of the chemical world, and the opportunity to contribute to a better environment and a betterment of the maritime industry through chemicals and the chemical industry. So those two collided. And what Mareneco does is really to offer shipping lines of all kinds. So our customers, they are cruise lines, they're container shipping lines, they're tankers, they're heavy lifts, project cargo lines that need to have those chemicals delivered in any port where they make coal, and want a one-stop shop to have that. That's when they call Mareneco and say, hey, tomorrow I have this need for such or such chemicals in Bremen. Can you bring it? And we have the ability to create supply chain solutions from the chemical manufacturers or distributors, the transporters, directly to the shipping lines, anywhere they would be, in a one-stop shop. And that was the big step up.
Yeah. Because of course, shipping, some ships follow a predetermined route, but more often than not, it can be anywhere, anytime when they run out. So you basically have to have supply stations worldwide in order to provide service, don't you?
Exactly. So this is already a challenge for the shipping line. So those two worlds, the maritime world of shipping and the chemical world, they have so little to do with one another, and they're not a good fit for each other. Even though we're big consumers, and the maritime industry now has become a fairly large consumer of those products, we are way far everything in the other industrial aspects. Say, for example, for a product like caustic soda. Caustic soda is mainly a byproduct of the manufacturing of chlorine, which is used in construction industry or auto industry. So those big companies, those big suppliers, they don't care really about the maritime world. It's really a really tiny footnotes on their bottom lines, and they don't have any need to adjust to the instability and difficulty of the maritime world. So say we deal with customers who, will charter ships and tell us, hey, we need, 20,000 cubic meter of such product in Houston on that day. And 3 days before the call, it changes. It's no longer Houston. It's going to be Corpus Christi, or it's going to be canceled. Now we need it in Panama, or we need it somewhere else. The maritime, as you know very well. And they need a contact that is able to react to this and have the network of chemical suppliers and transporters that enables them to have competitive prices, good supply chain and reliable supply chain, so that we can adjust to their needs and deliver where we commit that we will deliver in the quantities and quality that we fix. And the chemical industry is not geared for that. So the chemical industry is happy to be able to sell us some of those products, some which were for them byproducts and not the focus of their attention. And the maritime industry is happy to have one place where they can go and speak with very few intermediaries and tell us, hey, we need this there, we need that there, please make it happen.
Yeah. So you are filling a void. I mean, you are in a niche which is overlooked by the major players. They are not really interested, but you fill that gap by linking it all together.
Correct.
I'm quite sure, Mareneco, you would have competitors in this field. How do you go about making sure that the shipping lines and ship owners, mainly ship managers, that they know you? What do you do to make yourself known?
Yeah, so to answer your question, we have competitors, and some of them are good in this space, some of them are super efficient. And the what singles us apart is really that we are a lean structure that has been designed with the maritime in head from its inception. So Mareneco was built to respond to the maritime industry. That's what sets us apart. So there is no red tape, and there is no the different departments. And no, you're always 1 or 2 degrees removed from the top managements, and decisions are made quickly, and everything, the back office is unified, and it's so the how we ensure that our customers know us is actually quite interesting, because in this world, very often within the companies, they might not know. Like, I used to be in CMA CGM, I've been there for 15 years. I would have been incapable to tell you who was purchasing responsible for this purchase.
Sure.
Right? I still have a lot of friends in CMA CGM, and if I needed to call and say, hey, who is the buyer? It would have been difficult for me at this time to locate that person. Sure. So it's a niche within shipping lines. Right. And sometimes shipping lines, whatever their companies, they don't even handle the vessels themselves. They outsource the management to management companies, and then you're in the world of managing companies with ship, etc. So it's hard to get known.
Yeah.
A lot of this, happens in trade shows, in conferences, and in meeting and going to meet the people and networking, and this is how it's done massively. There's no way really to canvas the market, and the market is constantly evolving and shifting, and the needs are transformed. So it's quite a challenge to get known, indeed.
Interesting. I mean, these new regulations, and can you see, has it been successful in reducing the sulfur emissions? I mean, all of these new regulations, have they proven to be successful, or is it?
Yes.
Okay.
No. It has proven to be very, very successful. I mean, listen, I think it's beyond politics now. It's sad that it's weaponized by political parties, but we know that when we get together and when we regulate, I'm not a fan of regulations in general, but there are some things we know that the system is not well geared to respond to.
Sure.
And of course, expanding cost and investing in something that is long-term and that is shared by the whole humanity is a hard sell for companies that, especially in shipping, have very tiny margin and bottom lines that are complicated too. So we know it's difficult. But we've seen with the control on SOx and NOx, sulfur oxide and nitrate oxide, since this has been put into place, that the levels, especially in the areas where it was done, considerably lower.
Okay,
so it is.
That's good news. Tell me about the organizational structure of Mareneco. I mean, I know you're based in Miami, but tell me, where's your HQ? Is that in Miami? Do you have people elsewhere?
No. So
how do you...
head office is located in France, in the south of France, in Aix. We also have a branch office, another office that used to be the head office before Brexit, in London.
Oh yeah.
And there is now someone in Singapore, someone soon in Greece, and myself, and it's growing significantly. But it's still a team of, let's say, about 30 people, if I include people in the back office and everything. But that team has been able to bring from our owner, from the original setup of the company in 2016 to now, our network of distribution to 68 locations throughout the world. We have the ability to distribute and supply from Chile to Indonesia, Australia, the Middle East. So yeah, it's been very, very fast. And one of the secret is that we keep it very lean. We keep it very centralized. So our customers like that they do not have to navigate any maze to find the information or find what they need from us.
So what kind of quantity? Just give me an example. Do you send container loads of quantities, or is it often
Oh,
smaller?
so
Or tell me
yeah,
about that.
so we are a bulk distributor by nature. So most of the products that we deliver will either be in tanker trucks, or in IBCs, tows, they're called here in the US.
You mean tank
So
container?
smaller, so tanker trucks,
Oh,
those
yeah. Okay.
large trucks with like
Yeah.
they're about, let's say, 18,000 or 19,000 liter, depending on the product,
Right.
come alongside ship and hook a hose directly between the tanker and the ship
Ah, like
and do the
that. Okay.
transfer.
Got it.
Exactly. That is most of the market for us, regardless of the products. Some products, and some ships cannot do that. They cannot berth, or in the container, especially tankers, for example, in terminals where they berth to fill up their tank, they cannot. You cannot have other type of products circulating in the terminal. So what they do is they'll have a barge going to the alongside the ship with IBCs,
Hmm.
and they will load the product, to pump the product directly from the IBCs into the tank. So these are the two main ways. Sometimes also, depending, there's some other chemicals that our client will turn to us for, to clean tanks or to do some other
Yeah.
things. And these can be delivered in barrels or in tanks,
Uh,
sometimes in super sacks. We
okay.
have customers buying soda ash, for example. Yeah.
How about isotank and flexi tanks? Do you sometimes use them?
Yes, absolutely. ISO tanks and flexi tanks mostly for the transportation. Sometimes if we want to edge between prices between locations through the world, it might be more competitive to have some of those products imported from one place to another. But we have done many operations where we will pump directly from an ISO tank. Yes.
Okay, interesting. It's. I have to admit, it's an area that I know nothing about as an editor of this newsletter. Even I'm supposed to be as a journalist and know it all, but it's very interesting. It's part of logistics. And wouldn't you agree that your whole 15 years in CMA and being in many places, your whole logistics background that you have has helped you a lot in Mareneco
Oh yeah,
today?
well, yes, for sure. Understanding the shipping environment and the maritime world, through the lens of not only container shipping, but through the lens of what I saw in China back in the day, or in
Oh,
Japan, in Asia in general. And I've learned so much over those years about
yeah.
the versatility and the ever-changing needs, and the instability of the market, and how to cater to that. And so yes, it's been great help. Now, this is my first foray into the world of chemicals and how these two worlds collide, and it's fascinating, and I'm still learning a lot, which makes this job also very, very fun for me, because it's something I didn't know much about
Yeah.
before.
It's to have a shipping background. I know many people around the world, including your good self. I mean, shipping as a base for a lot of different careers is probably one of the best, because we deal with many different people. We are in many different countries, and we are not stuck in a bank or some accountancy company. You know, we can take on other jobs, as your job is now a proof of. One of my final questions is, there's a lot of hype, whether hype or not, but shipping lines, ship owners saying, "Oh, we are now building these new ships. They can go on methanol and blah 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 blah." That's also
Correct.
part of the green wave. But
Yes.
is it working, or is it sales talk, or is it? Can you you know?
No. I think it is. I mean, it is working insofar as
Yeah,
you get some new ways to power your vessels that are
yeah,
more eco-friendly. But here's the thing: I think no one has the it's like stock market, right?
yeah,
No one knows exactly what will prevail, what technology will prevail, and what the prices of those commodities will be in 5 to 10 years. And as you know, the shipping timeline is very extended. It's very
mm,
nice. A lot of shipping companies gambled a lot on LNG, and now today we're finding some limitation on the LNG strategy. And so, but you need to take those positions and go forward as a shipping line,
yeah,
and take positions. So now you are in the situation where some new build have made possibly 3 to 4 type of fuel available on one same machine.
Yeah.
They can have methanol, they can have LNG, they can have regular fossil fuel. They can, so no one knows exactly what it's going to take. But the positive point, and I will focus on the positive on this, is that there is an awareness that this is necessary, that we need to do something. And shipping is not slowing down. It's only going to keep growing.
Yeah.
And if we don't find a way to make it contribute to an effort of being more clean, and we'll all end up, breathing with oxygen masks in the future, or at least our kids will. So yes, there's and the market for chemicals and additives to certain, I think, will always be there, because they're usually fairly simple solutions, because they're patch on, they're add-ons. And in fact, when you look at the cost efficiency, I think the scrubber example showed that it was a fairly cheap add-on, a fairly cheap technology to put into place. And when you look at the difference, the spread between HSFO and VLSFO, it's still very, very competitive right now than to have low sulfur fuels that you will buy that are extremely expensive compared to the high sulfur fuel. And yeah, okay, you have next to that, you have a scrubber that's able to filter it. So there is a future also for all the chemists and all the technologies and makers and OEMs that will build and design system that you can plug in. It's plug and play. So although I'm very fascinated by structural innovation to change and to find new ways of propulsions. I don't know if you remember, but a couple of years ago, we started talking about kites, having some of the ships equipped with super large kites. So then when we high seas deploy the kites. And as a kiteboarder myself, I thought this was awesome. Like some huge container ship being pulled by major kites. It looks like Waterworld from Kevin Costner. So that's fantastic. But the market for plug-in solutions and filters and chemicals will keep growing massively.
It seems to me that you're still a young man, as far as I can see. So it seems you have a job for the next few decades to come, and it'll only grow in your business. I'm very impressed by your career. I'm very impressed by your introduction of Mareneco, and I think you're onto something smart here. At least your customer base is not diminishing. It definitely must be growing. Don't you think?
Yes. There's so much to do. My challenge is just to find who buys.
Yes. Well, except now we have, of course, Trump saying "drill, baby, drill." So
exactly. Well, but you see, like so they cannot have it both ways. So if we drill and baby drill, then we're talking fossil fuel and no care for low sulfur fuels. And still, the U.S. is at the forefront of the regulation into, it's one of the emission controlled areas. So
let's see.
We'll see if we change that. But
they will shoot. They will shoot and have guns, but it'll be green guns in the future. let's see what happens.
Who knows? Yeah.
Okay, I want to say formally thank you very much, Kerredine, for this interview and for giving me time for this interview. Thank you.
No, Bo, thank you. That's me. Thank you so much for the opportunity. First, it's good to talk to you again and to see you again. And I was happy to have the opportunity. I've been an avid reader of Project Cargo Weekly since you founded it. I've always enjoyed reading about it. Project Cargo will always be close to my heart, and so it's a great honor to be able to talk about Mareneco in the newsletter.
Thank you very much. I almost become embarrassed here with these compliments, but I'm very happy to hear that. Thank you. And to all our listeners, viewers, and readers from around the world, this was yet another great interview by Project Cargo Weekly. Our very special guest of honor today has a long past in shipping and now indirectly is contributing to the greatness of shipping again. His name, Mr. Kerredine Yelnik, the Regional Director at Mareneco. They are providers of solutions for decarbonization and making ships greener, so to speak, worldwide. So do contact him if you are a ship owner or shipping manager who need these kind of products. For me and Project Cargo Weekly, thank you very much, and I'll be in touch soon again. Bye-bye.